Three, two, one. Hello, Internet. After a brief hiatus in 30, the regular tech podcast is back. Heim has some new fancy mic and is very proud of a VPN that he rolled his own version of a week or so ago. Paul apparently is going to join ZZ Top or is going to move to the mountains or something. And Paul, you usually shave. That's what I'm getting at, Paul. That's what.
Oh, gotcha.
That is what I'm getting at, and I'm here just as always. Okay, so the thing that struck all of us simultaneously is that Google is now owned by a holding company called Alphabet. So we are going to rattle off for 30 minutes about how surprised we are and why it makes sense or not. But before I steer things in that direction, Paul, I have to ask you this question. I want to do it on the air. Okay, ready? How often do you use the button on your Apple Watch?
The button that is not the dial?
That is the digital crown, the side button. How often do you use the side?
Never.
Never. Literally never, right?
Yeah.
I think that it is, as I realize it is just a complete miss on Apple's part. Okay. Paul, after answering that throwaway question, were you surprised? Did you think it was an Onion article or something when you saw that Google was Alphabet? It struck everyone as a little weird, but what did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I thought. I thought it was an Onion article. If I had not seen it tweeted by a notable person in the tech industry, I would have thought it was a complete joke and never even clicked through.
See, you went. I wanted to see if somebody reliable tweeted. I went to Google and typed in "what is Alphabet," and their press release came up.
I was also surprised. I think I typed the word Alphabet into Google. There was no autocomplete that kind of painted the picture yet, but I saw that Ars and The Verge, and I think it was Forbes had already picked it up, so I knew it was a thing. And then I got to thinking, this has obviously been in the works for a while, but this is like a brainstorming session between Sergey and Larry, and of course it's doable, and it seems like the type of thing that maybe they've wanted to do for a while, or maybe people in similar situations have wanted to do, but these guys, they call the shots.
Is this the best kept secret in tech, or
No.
was this?
No.
You don't think that this to me was a shock?
This is business restructuring, though. The best kept secret in tech would be if Alphabet now, via Project X, is going to be able to mail you a pill that will make you live to 125 years old, no matter what.
Well, no, I'm saying that this came out of complete left field. Something this big, you would think, had a little more rumors to it.
Well, okay, that's true, but the fact, what I was getting at a second ago was that it happened at not a boardroom level. This happened between Sergey and Larry and a trusted advisor first. And like to delve deeper into that, I don't know, did you guys pick up that comparisons have been made to how Berkshire Hathaway is structured?
Yeah, so I would urge everyone to listen to This Week in Tech, or not This Week in Tech, This Week in Google, where they went through every little minor minutia of this whole thing, and they actually made some really salient points. And that came up, is it Berkshire Hathaway? And the then result was yes, but not really. And I don't understand why, but they were saying, think of it that way, but it's not really.
What's
Okay.
the summary?
Yeah, what is the summary?
Well, the summary is that, and when I was thinking about it, I was pretty much correct. So they wanted to. Larry Page is basically tired of running Google. He's tired of sitting in boardrooms answering the question, what shade of yellow should the O's be on the Google page? He wants to do something else, and they made it akin to him being retired because now he can just give the money. Basically, now he controls the money. So if you want money, you have one. It's like one-stop VC shopping. You go to your boss and you go from there.
I think that's missing the point, hon. Go ahead, Paul.
You know, my first reaction was, this is some sort of reaction to, an antitrust situation. But then I started to dig a little bit deeper, and it seemed like people were more harping on this point that it actually allows more flexibility within the organization for Larry and Sergey to do these little off projects. I was curious what you guys thought. Is it truly to benefit Larry and Sergey and their crazy little projects, or is it Is there something?
I think that the antitrust thing is really interesting because it seems like that makes the most sense, and that's what everyone else would be thinking about. Except they're keeping all of the Google properties that could potentially be used to make an antitrust case against them under one roof. Maybe they're going to further split it up, but Maps and YouTube and Gmail and the other Google apps and Drive are still under Google. So it seems like that would be a good thing to do with Alphabet. That they don't even care about that. So when you see that they didn't go down that road, I think it paints the picture that they took their software lives as far as they want to go. They don't want to work in search algorithms anymore. They want to Elon Muskify themselves, and they want to build news that can share the internet, and they want to work on extending human life and going to Mars and self-driving cars, and those things. Even though there are tendrils that are related to software, and of course, a good algorithm can be used in any pursuit. The software, the advertising end, and the software end, and the web services end is separate now. But yeah, Chaim, they want to control the money.
Well, if you're an investor and you hear that Google is going to put balloons with internet on it and give internet away for free, how would you feel?
Well, see, it is a way for them to have their cake and eat it too. I mean,
what they're doing is they're splitting it off.
This is buoyed Google stock. People, I think, because they think it's going to be more transparent about how Google works. Okay,
and that's how they're spending their money.
Right, but I think in the long run, it could be a red flag to investors that say, yeah, a lot of your money is going to be pissed down the drain on these long, these projects that could be potentially huge, but have a really slim chance of coming to fruition. But those are bets that people want to make.
Well, so I think that there's more of somebody. They were talking about how they can hide now because they can say Google made this much money, and they don't necessarily have to go into the other parts of the company, which is sort of a way to. I don't want to say it's hiding money. They said that we're going to be really transparent and we're going to go through all this.
There's going to be some generally accepted accounting principles that will be. I don't know. Someone from Goldman was probably consulted about how to do it, and also to rewrite the company charter and to do all the SEC filings. But that really, to me, it looks like another issue. There are two tickers now. None of them are, ABC, XYZ. But the branding for this Alphabet company, I don't know if it's going to even be like a consumer.
Well, it gets its own stock symbol.
Well, it's Google and Goog are the two stock symbols apparently.
Well, no. So there's two symbols. So so you can buy Google stock and then you can buy Alphabet stock.
Well, it's something like that. It is like Berkshire. Well, there's Berkshire A and B shares, but both of those companies invest in. I don't know exactly how they're structured. I think they all invest in the same sub companies, but it's a different way to let people get.
Here is the other takeaway that I had. It's to retain the high level talent. So Tony Fadell, he was the CEO of Nest. Google buys them. So now what does he become? Senior vice president or president of Nest? He went from the CEO position to a lower ranking position. And this is a way to keep them.
That's why you buy a company. It's because you want control over a guy like him. And if he didn't want to give up control, he doesn't sell the company.
Well, he takes his golden handcuffs, waits 2 years, and then he leaves. And they don't necessarily want that.
Oh, they want. That's why they keep engineers on the back burner, basically on long-term leave, if they're talented enough to warrant that, until they can rotate them in. But this is too big a restructuring to make everybody happy. It might make your guy Sundar Pichai a lot happier. But there's a whole bunch of people who are not going to be presidents of their division now. There's still going to be a lot of VPs.
Well, there's going to be that. But so I heard this. I don't know if this is a rumor, but this is why Vivek Ondrucha left. So I think that him and Sundar Pichai were going for the same position. I think this was known for a few years.
He left because Google Plus was a complete disaster. But that's 30 minutes of you whining that the internet doesn't need right now. Paul, sorry.
Well, no, but basically, I think they were posturing for the same thing, and
one of them was successful in his endeavors inside.
Correct.
And one was not.
So, do you think that? So, Sundar Pichai was also he was rumored to be the replacement for Balmer. Remember that from a while ago?
Okay, they found an Indian man with less hair.
Well, So, do you think that Sergey and Larry go to Sundar and say, "Just stay, just trust us, just stay"?
Okay, but
and he wins it, and they wait. I bet you Eric Schmidt's contract is probably up.
What you're saying is that okay. So remember, I don't even remember who is who, but one of them is the CEO and one of them is the president of Alphabet. And
Eric Schmidt is the president of Alphabet.
He's not the president. He's the chairman of the board or something. The president is one of the two founders of Google. I think it's Larry. But if you're saying that those two egomaniacs wanted to stay at the top tier position, but like on paper create another top tier position just with a tier, it's not quite the top tier. It's almost the top tier because Google is a fully owned subsidiary of Alphabet.
Yes.
Not a partially owned. So that means that anyway. But as I was talking about the ticker symbol and the abc.xyz URL, Paul, are you surprised that Alphabet.com wasn't purchased from BMW first, or that Twitter.com/Alphabet is owned by a father of three from North Carolina or something, or it doesn't matter?
Obviously, they don't care. They called themselves Alphabet, and now they're Alphabet. That Alphabet.com domain name has no clout. It wasn't really important for it to have clout to begin with because it's just this website for their holding company. People aren't going to go to it frequently anyway. The Twitter account, so what? It's a Twitter account.
It does seem like one of these weird, it's the first time we've seen I've witnessed the creation of one of these holding companies that owns a bunch of stuff, and they all have websites like that. They're complete. They have a couple of pages, and it's just these are the owners of the company, and that's I guess that's all that Alphabet needs, right? We're not going to get Alphabet hats, and I don't know.
What is BMW's market cap? How much is BMW worth?
Well, Google is pushing into the $1 trillion territory. I mean,
so is BMW can they just buy out BMW? Could BMW be the B, and that's going to be their self-driving car division?
Well, it's rumored that Apple wanted to pick up BMW, or at least work with them on the i3 platform. So
I mean, is BMW, is that something that, do they want to be bought or sold? I don't know.
154 billion euros.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's for BMW. That strikes me as very high.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's total assets.
Well, that's the market cap is literally the outstanding shares multiplied by the value of the shares, not including over the counter and private shares. I don't think. I mean, when you calculate Apple, it's literally it's not the corporate assets. It's a different thing. But is Alphabet ever going to have a product?
They have a Nest thermostat.
Well, is that an N? I mean, is that the N? Are there going to be 26 divisions? I mean, we have Project X, and that's probably X, not the P.
Well, if you want to pour beer out, Niantic was N for Ingress.
Well, they just left.
And they just left.
Oh, I hope to God they don't keep with the stupid alphabet thing.
What do you mean?
They actually try to have a company represent each letter? That would be so lame.
I think that's exactly what we're going to see. I think we're going to see them. Well, I mean, okay, Chaim, go ahead.
Is Waze W?
Waze, no, Waze, I mean, is being rolled into Google Maps. That is a Google property.
But
or Paul, going back to the antitrust thing, they could have it structured. I mean, I don't know if these companies are all fully owned by the same holding company. It seems like it's just a slap in the face to the antitrust legislations. It's just I don't even know if that would get around it. But maybe, who knows? I don't know the answer to that question. In principle, maybe they want to do that. They want to, every Google big, huge product vertical is going to be a letter.
Is it antitrust if, let's say, Waze and Google Maps go for the same type of advertising structure in their products? Is that an antitrust thing? If Waze now all of a sudden does Street View in Germany, are they going to say, well, you're...
It has to be that they're monopolizing the market, and because the barrier to entry, it's not like it's not like oil or railroads where there's a way to saturate the market with this stuff and to really monopolize it. Anyone can create a map app. They can argue, and Apple's kind of doing them a favor in that way. There's definite competition. I'm sure a lot of people use iOS maps, believe it or not. So I don't think they have so much to worry about there. It would be search kind of it would.
Well, I mean, and then the other issue was how come Google takes Android and YouTube and everything, and then puts all the the Google X projects aside, like Loon and Google Fiber and Android Auto and everything else.
Maybe it's the balance sheet. Maybe it's the company cultures. Maybe it is that if you separate those things on paper, even they can't share resources and talent in the same way.
Somebody mentioned the privacy policy, and then somebody else mentioned that the divisions don't talk to each other anyway. So
Well, they don't talk to each other culturally, but like corporately, they are under the same roof.
So I don't know. There's a lot of. I just want to find a way how I can make a Heim Time LLC and fully own Heim Cohen.
Well, I was just going to. That was exactly where I was going to pivot into. I'm structured. I mean, my holding company is me, and then this is how business is done. I guess it seems like they're jettisoning the Google brand in a way because the founders are kind of leaving it, but Google is still Google. Right?
Well, yeah, Google is still Google, but I want to know what's next. Are we? And I really think they're trying to get more people into higher C-level positions by some sort of competition. Like if you can make your business so worth it, you'll get a letter in the alphabet, and you'll be a CEO instead of a senior vice president or president of this or whatever it is.
Paul,
I think it's a way to retain talent.
You think there's a wall somewhere with all of the letters like lit up, and that Heim is right, and that you get to be the chief executive of BS of YouTube if you earn it.
But you want to be the CEO? I mean, Google Fiber is ISP. I mean, I think that if you're the person in charge of that, you should get a three-letter title.
It's like saying Heim. It's like saying when the bell rings and you're teaching class, you're the CEO of.
I've been known to say that.
Class, whatever, everyone goes out into the hallway, but the real CEO is the principal. The real CEO is the superintendent. I don't know if that's how you
I heard an interesting presentation recently. I forget where Google has this culture where they try to basically they may do something like they undermine an existing Google product, completely recreate like an alternative, like if they created like a second, like two Google Pluses at once.
Like Inbox?
Like what?
Like Inbox?
Right, so Inbox and Gmail, in order to find the best one and then ultimately replacing the other. So technically speaking, they might have more ability to do things like that and innovate. So like they could create like a second, like, not that they haven't already done this, a second video platform and compete internally and with YouTube.
If that culture exists, even if it's not consumer facing, I mean, it is probably better for the company overall. The kind of internecine fighting, and as far as antitrust stuff goes, that would certainly be a way to get around it. But I mean, that could rise to the surface. It would take a lot of guts at a corporate level to do that.
Google already tries to do stuff like that.
Where else have you seen it besides Inbox? I mean, I kind of get the impression. I mean, out of any company I can think of, Google seems to be the one that's willing to make those bets, but I can't put my finger on it.
I heard this. It was a presentation from a Google employee, I believe, and it was. I think they do it a lot internally, so it's not necessarily something you see.
Well, in Google, you have to fight for the. I mean, they'll let you start these things, and I think what they're trying to do is stop people from leaving. I mean, remember the Foursquare founders were originally called Handball or something like that. Google buys them. They wait 2 years, nothing happens. They leave again. They create Foursquare. But I think that yes, there's this like you said, that there may be some internal struggles who can do better, and the winner does win.
That's a
I
great.
mean, take finance. Google Finance.
Make a T-shirt for Heim that says "The winner does win." That's a good one.
Take Google Finance. Google Finance hasn't been updated since before. Now, we're not even talking material design or ice cream sandwich or before that. It still has the gingerbread type logos to it. And someone said they just don't care because they just rolled it into Google Now. That whole division lost on that, and they're just being rolled into Google Now.
Well,
And I guess Ingress didn't win because they're shutting it out.
It kind of goes against like what you're saying though. If they just let products die entirely, it seems like they're either choosing to let them die, or and what did they just close up? They just closed up Google Code, or I guess they announced it a while ago. Google Code is read only, and they're saying that GitHub does it better basically, and they're giving that market to GitHub, right? If they have all the talent in the world, it seems like they can't. They're spread too thin. Otherwise, Google Finance would go on forever. Even Google News looks like it's dying, right? I mean, these Google dots, these Google, where Google is the adjective, it seems like they can't have that many balls in the air.
Well, they're shutting down companies that don't work.
Well,
that's what it is, and people after Google Reader, people are scared. I'm scared that I'm terrified that Google Voice is going away. Aren't you terrified that they're forcing you, if you got a Google Fi invite, you have to now keep your number. It takes over your Google Voice number.
But at the same, okay, I think that's actually a good thing in a way.
Well, that's if you want it. I like my own cell phone number that I can give to certain people, because Google Voice is not.
Google Voice is becoming a cornerstone. I'm not saying it's going to be around forever. It seems like it's almost too good to be true. But remember, they just tweaked their internal voice recognition algorithm to make the transcriptions 50% better. What they're trying to do is bundle it into Hangouts. They might get rid of Google Voice in order to prop up Hangouts. I mean, you can already kind of opt into that. But when you talk about Google Voice, it's really small potatoes compared to YouTube or compared to text-based chat overall as part of their user base. So this restructuring thing, I don't know.
Google Voice to me is more important than probably YouTube.
Okay, in your day-to-day life, but as a product overall, that's not how it.
I know, but you're basically telling me that all of a sudden tomorrow we can tell you, poof, the number is gone. We're not going to do it.
That's obviously they're not going to do that.
Well, we don't. I mean, I know it. Obviously, and from thinking about it, they're not. But let's say they said in 2 months the number is gone, or in 3 months, or in 6 months.
Maybe they would let third parties opt in to port the number over to them.
And now I have to make a decision: do I port it to my carrier, or do I go back to the old one? And at least phone is not as important as it used to be, so it's not going to be like the complete end of the world, but it's going to be a big deal, and it's going to hurt. So that's what makes me nervous, because it doesn't seem to make them money, and every iteration of Hangouts becomes more bloated with different things.
So they're also. I mean, we're kind of getting really into the trees of this forest, but they also just announced that Hangouts, the actual code for Hangouts was streamlined. They said that they worked explicitly on making it faster and getting rid of bloat so. They want to own a certain amount of voice, text, video, chat, and if they think that they can make it stickier by putting Google Voice inside of it, they're going to do that. But Google also, if they have a long-range plan, the end of the phone number is coming before you know it, right?
I say that, and then I'm taken aback by how many people still make phone calls, how I still make phone calls. I saw something today, call or email us. I picked up the phone because it was easier for me to do that because I wanted some sort of instant gratification. But
how much time is left?
We have 6.5 minutes, and then you got it. Go ahead.
Well, what is the next company that's going to do something like this? Does this portend a trend? Or does another company not kind of have the corporate balls to do this? What gives as part of
I don't know of a company that would want to do this. Google obviously is this huge, company with lots of products, but where it sort of makes sense. Um, I guess another company that of a similar size, maybe you could say like Apple is somewhere there, but like they don't have the differentiation and the different technology components. So it would
Amazon.
make sense.
So
That's a good one.
I mean, all right. So riff on that then, Heim. I mean, I could see it. What is the
Well,
benefit?
Amazon has the Washington Post, or take Ailes Company, Fox News. Roger, or
Well, that's already
not Ailes.
that's already a Murdoch thing, Heim.
Murdoch.
You're missing a level on that one. I mean, you're.
Well, I'm saying take Amazon. Amazon now is doing all these different things. I wouldn't be surprised if they buy DJI and Phantom for drones to do their drone delivery business.
Okay. I mean, okay, but I mean, what remains to be seen, I guess, is whether or not Project X really makes itself into something. And I think that the thing that's interesting to me is whether or not another brand comes out under Alphabet, or whether or not Alphabet just becomes synonymous with Google, and and that's the end of it. I mean, they have a lot of time, of course. They're the end of the world to.
I think that our grandkids will, if Alphabet is still around, our grandkids will see various companies. We're going to call Google by anything that Sergey Brin and Larry Page do. I mean, the self-driving car, if that falls under a different letter, that's still going to be called, it's the Google car.
Well, I don't know about that, because doesn't it just seem a little weird that if you use a service to get the self-driving car to come, that it's the same thing that you're typing your search into? I mean, Paul, isn't it just like a psychological tension issue? Like, isn't it weird that they have that? Like, they're doing your email, they're doing your searches, your web searches, and then in addition, they're also moving your physical body around. Like, isn't there something to be said for just having a different brand in a consumer's mind for those things? I mean,
I could totally see that being.
Well, take Nest. You want a company, take Nest. But the problem with that is that it was pre-purchased. Or Waze, for example. Or we now know YouTube is Google because they did all the branding. But Nest is still Nest. Motorola was always Motorola. And Waze is still Waze. So
I think that Android is now kind of Google. But remember, they do Android ads as Android. Paul, if you polled the billions of people who watch YouTube a day, what percentage of them realize that it's a Google property? I
was about to say I don't think YouTube is too heavily branded as a Google product. It seems like a separate entity.
And again, I think there is something to that. I think that YouTube might be the next one to break off. I think that could be the why. And I think that when YouTube breaks off, it's going to get into content production. And I think that Amazon's already in content production. Netflix is doing content production. Mm-hmm. Apple is dipping its toe into content production. But I think if you call it Apple, I mean, they're no longer Apple Computer. They're just Apple Inc., right? It's too much. Then it becomes, it's like they own, they're vertically and horizontally integrated. I mean, it's just like this weird type of like super monopoly, and you can't do it. So I think that's what Google is looking forward to. I think that you're saying that Amazon Heim would be the next company to restructure. I think that makes sense for similar reasons. But I don't think that I don't think that your kids are going to think it's not going to be a Google car. That's what I'm saying. It'll be another company's car.
So with the 90 seconds we have left.
Well, we should say welcome back again. And that the summer is almost over, but thank you for giving us 30 minutes of your time. Or if someone is listening at 1.25 speed, what does that come to, like 22 minutes or something? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, we talk fast, so listening to 1.5 or 2 times is sometimes very difficult. And I like the fact that we talk fast because it gives us more content to put in there. So
yes.
And yeah. So,
and we're from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Those are my parting words. All right, this has been what episode of In 30, Heim?
I have it as 185. I'm not sure.
I think that sounds a little rough. All right, this has been episode 185 in 30, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., etc. All right, thanks for listening.
Okay, bye.
There you go.